I stood frozen on my daughter's porch, the grocery bags heavy in my arms, my heart heavier in my chest. Amanda's face twisted with an emotion I'd never seen before. Behind her stood Gretchen, her mother-in-law, smirking slightly. "You're not family, get out," Amanda snapped, her voice cutting through me like winter wind. As tears threatened, I straightened my 63-year-old spine and looked her directly in the eyes. "Remember this day," I said quietly. "You didn't just lose your mother, you erased your future." I turned and walked away. 8 days later, she called me crying. The drive home from Amanda's house was a blur. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, as 26 years of motherhood flashed before my eyes. I had raised Amanda alone since she was 12, when my husband Jack died suddenly of a heart attack. One minute we were planning our 20th anniversary trip, the next I was planning his funeral and figuring out how to tell our daughter her father was never coming home. I remember promising myself that night that Amanda would never lack for love. I worked 3 jobs sometimes: administrative assistant during weekdays, waitressing evenings, and bookkeeping for small businesses on weekends. My sister Nancy would watch Amanda when I couldn't be there, but I made sure I never missed the important moments: her school plays, parent-teacher conferences, driving lessons, prom pictures, college move-in day. We were inseparable during those years. When Amanda graduated college, she squeezed my hand and whispered, "We did it, Mom." Not she did it, we did it. That's how close we were. Amanda was not just my daughter, but my best friend. At least, that's what I thought. Everything changed when she met Troy 4 years ago. He came from money, old money, the kind of wealth that's been in families for generations. His mother Gretchen had raised 2 sons in a 10 to 1,000 square foot house with live-in help. She'd never worked a day in her life and couldn't understand why anyone would need to. The first time I met Gretchen at their engagement dinner, she looked at my simple dress and costume jewelry with barely concealed disdain. "Amanda has told us so little about you," she said, emphasizing the word little in a way that made it clear she thought there was little worth knowing. Over the past 4 years, I watched as Gretchen slowly but systematically worked her way between Amanda and me. At first, it was subtle, offering to host holidays at her home because it was more spacious, planning surprise trips for Amanda and Troy that just happened to fall on weekends when Amanda and I had plans. I tried to adapt. I sent thoughtful cards and gifts. I called regularly but not too often. I never complained when plans with Amanda were canceled at the last minute because Gretchen had arranged something special. In recent months, though, Amanda had grown increasingly distant. Our weekly phone calls became bi-weekly, then monthly. She was always busy or tired when I suggested getting together. So, when she reluctantly agreed to let me come over and cook Saturday dinner, I was thrilled. I spent days planning the perfect menu, all her childhood favorites. I wanted to remind her of our bond, of the love that had carried us through the hardest times. I arrived at her house at 4 o'clock as planned, grocery bags filled with ingredients for homemade lasagna, garlic bread, and apple pie, the meal she always requested for her birthday as a child. But instead of the warm welcome I'd imagined, I found Amanda standing stiffly in the doorway with Gretchen hovering possessively behind her. "Mom, this isn't a good time," Amanda said, not meeting my eyes. "But we planned this dinner," I said, confusion washing over me. "I've got everything right here." "We forgot that Gretchen and Walter were coming over," she replied, though her tone suggested nothing was forgotten. This was deliberate. "I can make enough for everyone," I offered, desperately trying to salvage the evening. That's when Gretchen stepped forward. "Amanda's been feeling so nauseous lately. I brought over my special ginger tea recipe that helped when I was carrying the boys." The words hit me like a physical blow. Carrying the boys? Was Amanda? "You're pregnant?" I whispered, the grocery bag suddenly impossibly heavy in my arms. Amanda's hand went reflexively to her stomach, a small but noticeable bump I'd somehow missed. 3 months, she said quietly. 3 months, I repeated numbly. "And you didn't tell me?" "We've been meaning to," she said, but her eyes slid away from mine. "Meaning to? For 3 months? Does everyone know except me?" "Don't make this about you, Mom," Amanda snapped. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you sooner. You always make everything about yourself." The unfairness of the accusation stole my breath. When had I ever put myself before her? I'd built my entire life around making sure she had everything she needed. "I think you should go," Amanda said coldly. Today isn't good after all. Not good? Amanda, I'm your mother. You're having a baby, my grandchild, and you didn't even tell me. That's when she said those words that would haunt me for days. You're not family, get out. I felt as though she had physically struck me. Remember this day, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the earthquake happening in my heart. You didn't just lose your mother, you erased your future. As I drove away, tears streaming down my face, I realized that in all my planning, in all my careful attention to our relationship, I had somehow missed the moment when I lost my daughter. The house was achingly quiet when I returned home. I mechanically put away the groceries, my mind replaying those awful words over and over. You're not family. Get out. How could Amanda say such a thing to me? What had I done to deserve being cut out of her life so completely that she wouldn't even share the news of my first grandchild? I picked up my phone and called Nancy. My sister had always been my rock, especially during the difficult years after Jack died. She's pregnant, Nancy, I said as soon as she answered, my voice breaking, 3 months along, and she never told me. Then she threw me out of her house. Oh, Janie, Nancy gasped. That doesn't sound like Amanda at all. It's Gretchen, I said, the realization solidifying as I spoke. She's been working on Amanda for years, trying to replace me, and now with the baby coming, she's succeeded. Come on over, Nancy insisted. You shouldn't be alone right now. An hour later, I sat at Nancy's kitchen table, a mug of tea growing cold between my hands as I detailed the gradual erosion of my relationship with Amanda. It started with little things after the wedding, I explained. Gretchen would plan these elaborate family dinners, but always on evenings when she knew I had work commitments. Then she started taking Amanda shopping for proper home decor, as if the things I'd given her weren't good enough. That woman sounds like a piece of work, Nancy muttered. Troy's family has money. Serious money, I continued. They paid for the wedding, refused my contribution, actually. Then they gave them a down payment for their house as a wedding gift. Gretchen redecorated their entire home as a surprise while they were on their honeymoon. I showed up with a handmade quilt, and Amanda put it in the guest room closet. Nancy reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Janie, you've been the best mother anyone could ask for. Amanda knows that, deep down. Does she, though? I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook, something I rarely did these days. Look at this. I scrolled through Amanda's timeline, showing Nancy photos from events I'd known nothing about, a Thanksgiving dinner at Gretchen and Walter's Country Club, a Christmas Eve party, a Valentine's Day couples retreat. She told me they were spending those holidays with Troy's work colleagues, I said, the betrayal fresh with each swipe of my finger. But look, it was family gatherings, Gretchen's family. Not me. I kept scrolling, pausing on photos from 2 months back. And here, look at this. This is a new house. They bought a new house, Nancy, and I had no idea. My own daughter moved and didn't even tell me her new address. The photos showed Amanda and Troy standing proudly in front of a large colonial-style home with a sweeping front lawn. Gretchen stood beside them, one arm wrapped possessively around Amanda's shoulders. The caption says, "Thanks to Mom for helping us find our forever home." I read, my voice catching. Mom. She's calling Gretchen Mom now. Nancy took the phone from my trembling hands and continued scrolling. Oh, Janie, she said softly. Look at this. She turned the screen toward me. It was a photo posted just a week ago. Gretchen, in what was clearly a nursery, painting clouds on a soft blue wall. The caption read, "So blessed to have a mother-in-law with such talent. Baby boy's room is coming together beautifully." A boy, I whispered. I'm going to have a grandson. The room spun slightly as the full weight of what I'd lost hit me. I would never feel that baby kick inside Amanda. I wouldn't be at the gender reveal party, which had clearly already happened. I wouldn't help decorate the nursery, or shop for tiny clothes, or share in the anticipation of this new life. And the worst realization of all, my grandson might grow up not knowing me at all. What did I do wrong? I asked Nancy, real fear creeping into my voice. How did I lose her so completely? You didn't do anything wrong, Nancy insisted. This has Gretchen written all over it. She's isolating Amanda, making her dependent on their family. It's what controlling people do. I scrolled to another photo that made my heart clench. It showed Gretchen holding up a tiny blue sweater, apparently hand-knitted. The caption read, "Grandma's first project for the little one. Many more to come." Grandma. Gretchen was already claiming the title that should have been mine, too. "She's taken everything from me," I said. A new emotion rising through the hurt. Anger. My relationship with my daughter, my role as grandmother, even my history with Amanda. Look at this comment. Under the nursery photo, someone had written, "So wonderful that Amanda has you to help with the baby since her mom isn't in the picture." Isn't in the picture? I'd been in the picture every day of Amanda's life until Gretchen systematically erased me. "This isn't right," Nancy said firmly. "You need to fight for your relationship with Amanda and your future grandchild." "How?" I asked. "She made it pretty clear today how she feels about me." "I don't believe that's really Amanda talking," Nancy replied. "Someone's poisoned her against you. The Amanda I know would never treat you this way without a reason." As I drove home later that evening, Nancy's words echoed in my mind. The Amanda I knew would never treat me this way without a reason. What reason could she possibly have? What could Gretchen have told her to turn her so completely against me? I needed to find out, not just for my sake, but for Amanda's and my grandson's too. Whatever was happening, I couldn't just walk away. I had raised my daughter to be strong, kind, and honest. Somewhere inside the cold woman who had turned me away today was still the Amanda I knew and loved. I had to find a way to reach her. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a blank note card. After hours of tossing and turning, I had decided that a direct, heartfelt approach might be my best chance at understanding what had gone wrong between Amanda and me. The letter took me 3 attempts. The first was too angry, the second too pleading. Finally, I wrote from my heart, "Dear Amanda, I won't pretend yesterday didn't hurt deeply, but I'm writing not to blame you, but to understand. If I've done something to make you feel I don't deserve a place in your life or your child's life, please tell me. Whatever it is, I want to make it right. I've loved you every moment since I knew you existed, and that will never change. I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. Love always, Mom." I slipped the card into an envelope along with a small package, a hand-knitted baby blanket I had started making weeks ago, after noticing subtle changes in Amanda's appearance during our increasingly rare visits. Mother's intuition had told me she might be pregnant, but I'd been waiting for her to share the news. The blanket was soft blue and yellow, with a pattern of tiny stars. I had worked on it during lonely evenings, imagining the day I would wrap my grandchild in it. Now I wondered if that day would ever come. I drove to Amanda's new house, the one I had only discovered through Facebook photos, and sat in my car for several minutes, gathering courage. Finally, I approached the front door and rang the bell. No one answered, but a neighbor working in his yard called over that Amanda and Troy had left early that morning with his parents. Apparently, they were spending the day shopping for nursery furniture. Without Amanda there, I simply left the package on the porch with a text, letting her know it was there. "Nothing perishable, just something I made for the baby," I wrote, trying to keep my tone light and non-confrontational. Hours passed with no response. Then a full day. I checked my phone obsessively, hoping for some acknowledgement, some tiny opening I could build upon. On the 3rd day after my visit to Amanda's house, a message finally came through. But it wasn't from Amanda. It was from Troy. "Please respect our boundaries," the text read. "Amanda is in a delicate condition and doesn't need additional stress. We'll reach out when we're ready for extended family involvement." Extended family. Not immediate family, not close family. Extended, like a distant cousin one sees at reunions every 5 years. The deliberate distance in those words felt like another slap. I showed the message to Nancy when she stopped by that evening. "This doesn't sound like Troy," she frowned. "He's always been polite to you." "Gretchen's influence," I suggested. "She's probably convinced him I'm some kind of threat." "Maybe," Nancy said slowly, "but something else feels off here. This whole situation is so extreme, so sudden." She hesitated, then continued. "I ran into Fran Wilson at the grocery store yesterday. You know she works with Patty Morgan, whose daughter goes to the same yoga studio as Amanda." I nodded, following the complicated small-town connection. "Well?" Fran said something odd. "She asked if you were doing okay after everything. When I asked what she meant, she got flustered and said she thought I would know since I'm your sister." A cold feeling settled in my stomach. What does Fran think she knows about me? Nancy took a deep breath. I pressed her. And she finally admitted that she'd heard you had. Well, that you had been an absent mother who prioritized dating over raising Amanda. That after Jack died, you supposedly pawned Amanda off on relatives while you lived it up with various men. I gasped, genuinely shocked. What? That's absolutely untrue. I barely dated at all while raising Amanda. Maybe 3 times in 15 years. And those were coffee dates that went nowhere because I was too busy working and parenting to maintain a relationship. I know that, Nancy said quickly. Of course I know that. I told Fran it was complete nonsense. But then I asked where she heard such a thing. And? I prompted when Nancy paused. She said Patty heard it from her daughter, who heard it from Amanda. The room seemed to tilt. Amanda is telling people I neglected her? That I chose men over her? Not exactly, Nancy corrected. According to Fran, Amanda was confiding in her yoga friends about how she wants to be a different kind of mother than you were. Apparently, Gretchen was there and added, details about your supposed behavior after Jack died. Suddenly, pieces began falling into place. Gretchen, I whispered. Gretchen is spreading lies about me. And Amanda believes them. But why would Amanda believe such obvious falsehoods about her own mother? Nancy asked. Because Gretchen is very good at what she does, I said slowly. She wouldn't have started with such blatant lies. She would have planted seeds of doubt first, subtle comments and questions that made Amanda question her own memories. I remembered incidents over the past 4 years, Gretchen asking Amanda in my presence about that time your mom missed your school play for a date, which never happened. Or mentioning casually how some women just aren't cut out for the sacrifices of motherhood, with a sympathetic glance at Amanda. At the time, these comments seemed merely rude or insensitive. Now I recognize them as calculated stepping stones toward a larger deception. She's been gaslighting my daughter, I said, anger rising through my hurt, making her doubt her own childhood, her own memories of our relationship. And now she's openly lying about me, to anyone who will listen. What are you going to do? Nancy asked. I don't know yet, I admitted. But I won't let Gretchen's lies stand. Somehow, I have to reach Amanda with the truth. That night, I dug out old photo albums and memory boxes from the attic. If Amanda had begun to doubt the reality of her childhood, I needed evidence to counter Gretchen's poisonous narrative. I found stacks of photos documenting our life together, Amanda and me at her school events, birthdays, graduations, cards she had made for me over the years, thanking me for being the best mom ever. Her college application essay about how I was her role model and inspiration. I was gathering these items, planning to somehow get them to Amanda, when my phone rang. It was 7 days after the confrontation at her doorstep, and the name on my caller ID stopped my heart for a moment. It was Walter, Troy's father. Janie? It's Walter Reynolds, Troy's father. His voice sounded strained, nothing like the jovial man I remembered from family gatherings. Walter, I responded cautiously. Is everything all right? Is Amanda okay? There was a pause then. Amanda's in the hospital. She's had some complications with the pregnancy. My body went cold. How serious? Is the baby? The baby's stable for now, but the doctors want her on complete bed rest. I thought you should know. Thank you for calling me, I said, already reaching for my purse and keys. Which hospital? Mercy General. But Janie, he hesitated. Gretchen and Troy are with her. I'm not sure if I'd be welcome, I finished for him. I understand. But I need to be there, Walter. Even if I just sit in the waiting room. Another pause. I'll meet you there, he said finally. In the main lobby in 30 minutes. The drive to Mercy General was the longest 20 minutes of my life. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios and desperate prayers. Whatever had happened between us, Amanda was still my child, and she was in trouble. Walter was waiting as promised, looking older and more tired than I remembered. He led me to a quiet corner of the lobby. What happened? I asked immediately. Placental abruption, he said grimly. Partial, thankfully. They've stabilized her, but she needs absolute rest and minimal stress for the remainder of the pregnancy. Can I see her? Walter sighed heavily. Troy and Gretchen are with her now. Gretchen has strong opinions about who should be allowed in Amanda's room. The familiar anger flared again. She's my daughter, Walter. My daughter. I know, he said, surprising me with the gentleness in his voice. That's why I called you. This situation has gone too far. I studied his face, noticing for the first time the lines of stress around his eyes, the tightness in his jaw. You don't agree with what Gretchen's been doing, I realized aloud. No, he admitted quietly. I don't. But it's complicated, Janie. Gretchen is difficult when challenged. She's spreading lies about me, I said directly. She's turned my daughter against me with fabricated stories about my parenting. Walter didn't deny it. He just nodded wearily. That sounds like Gretchen. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because Amanda's health is at risk. And I've watched this pattern play out before. He met my eyes squarely. My wife has a history of controlling the narrative. She did it with my mother, with my sister. I let it happen because it was easier than fighting. I've regretted that decision every day since my mother passed without reconciling with my sons. His admission stunned me. I'm sorry, Walter. Don't be. It's my failure, not yours. He glanced toward the elevators. Look, I can't openly go against Gretchen right now. It would only make things worse for Amanda. But I can tell you that they'll be leaving for dinner in about an hour. The nurse on duty is Linda Carson. She's an old family friend who understands the situation. She'll let you have a few minutes with Amanda. I squeezed his hand gratefully. Thank you, Walter. Don't thank me yet, he warned. Amanda may not be ready to see you. Gretchen has had 4 years to work on her, and pregnancy hormones aren't helping the situation. I have to try, I said simply. Walter nodded, then headed back toward the elevators. I settled into a chair in the lobby to wait, my heart pounding with equal parts fear and hope. An hour later, I was making my way to the third-floor maternity ward. As Walter had predicted, Nurse Linda discreetly directed me to wait in a small consultation room near Amanda's room. They just left for the cafeteria, she whispered. You have maybe 20 minutes, but be careful. Your daughter needs calm right now. I nodded my understanding and slipped into the hallway. But before I could reach Amanda's door, I heard voices from around the corner, Gretchen and Troy, apparently having an argument. I froze, then instinctively stepped back into the doorway of an empty room. I can't believe you're still defending her, Gretchen was saying, her voice sharp despite its low volume. After everything I've told you about how she neglected Amanda? Mom, I know you're trying to help, but I'm starting to wonder if all those stories are really true, Troy responded, sounding exhausted. Amanda's memories of her childhood don't match what you've been saying about Janie. Of course they don't, Gretchen hissed. Amanda was a child. Children don't see what's really happening. Trust me, I've heard all about women like Janie from my friends, in similar situations. She's manipulative, Troy. Why do you think she keeps sending those gifts and messages? What gifts and messages? Troy asked, confusion evident in his voice. Amanda said her mother hasn't responded to any of her texts since the baby announcement. There was a pause, and I held my breath. The point is, Gretchen continued, ignoring Troy's question, we need to maintain a united front. Amanda needs to focus on the baby now, not get dragged into her mother's drama. Besides, you promised me when I helped with the down payment on the house that you'd keep that woman at a distance. I promised we'd set healthy boundaries, Troy corrected, not cut her out entirely. Well, sometimes boundaries need to be firm, Gretchen snapped. And don't forget who's paying for the nursery renovation. Your father and I are happy to help, but we expect certain considerations in return. We're going to be the primary grandparents in this child's life. That was the agreement. There was no agreement about excluding Janie entirely, Troy argued, but his voice lacked conviction. Don't be naive, Troy. You can't have it both ways. Now, I left my purse in Amanda's room. Wait here. I quickly backed further into the empty room as Gretchen stalked past, then slipped out my phone and hit record. My hands were shaking with a combination of rage and vindication. Gretchen had been intercepting my messages to Amanda. She had been lying about me not responding, and she was using financial leverage to control Troy and Amanda's relationship with me. When Gretchen returned, and she and Troy moved toward the elevators, I waited until they were gone before approaching Amanda's room. I knocked softly and entered to find my daughter propped up in bed, looking pale and tired. Her eyes widened in shock. Mom, what are you doing here? Walter called me, I said simply. I had to come. Troy said you didn't want to be involved, Amanda said, her voice small and confused. That you never responded to our pregnancy announcement. I never received any announcement, Amanda, and I've been trying to contact you for months. I moved closer to her bed. The package I left on your porch last week, did you get it? Amanda frowned. What package? My heart sank. A baby blanket I knitted. And a letter. I never saw it, she admitted. Gretchen has been collecting packages while we're out. She said there was nothing from you. I took a deep breath. Amanda, I need to play something for you. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of Gretchen and Troy's conversation. Amanda's face went from confused to shocked to devastated as she listened. She's been lying to me? About you? Amanda whispered when it ended. But why? I think she wants to be the only grandmother in your child's life, I said gently. And she was willing to destroy our relationship to make that happen. Amanda's hand went to her stomach protectively. She told me you said terrible things about my pregnancy, that you thought I was too young, too irresponsible. Never, I insisted. I would never say that. I didn't even know you were pregnant until that day at your door. Remember, when you told me to get out? Tears filled Amanda's eyes. I was so hurt, Mom. I thought you didn't care about the baby, that you'd abandon me again. Again? I repeated, confused. When did I ever abandon you? Amanda looked away. Gretchen said. She said after Dad died, you left me with relatives while you dated, that you resented having to raise me alone. Oh, Amanda, I breathed, my heart breaking. That never happened. I worked multiple jobs to support us, yes. Sometimes Nancy watched you when I had night shifts. But I was never away from you for more than a workday. And I never, ever resented you. You were the light of my life. You still are. A monitor beside Amanda's bed began beeping more rapidly. Your heart rate is rising, I said, concerned. I shouldn't upset you, not in your condition. No, Amanda said firmly, reaching for my hand. I need to know the truth. I've felt so confused these past few months. Gretchen kept telling me things about my childhood that didn't match my memories, but she was so convincing. It's called gaslighting, I explained gently, making you doubt your own reality. It's a form of manipulation. Amanda closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. I've been horrible to you, she whispered. The things I said. We can talk about that later, I assured her. Right now, you need to focus on staying calm for the baby. As if on cue, Nurse Linda poked her head in. Everything okay in here? Your heart monitor spiked. We're okay, Amanda said, wiping her tears. Just clearing the air. Linda nodded understandingly. Well, keep it calm. And heads up. Your husband and mother-in-law are on their way back up. Saw them getting on the elevator. I squeezed Amanda's hand. I should go. I don't want to cause a scene that might stress you further. No, Amanda said suddenly, gripping my hand tighter. Stay. Please. I need you here, Mom. The monitor beside her bed began beeping again, more insistently this time. Amanda, your blood pressure, Linda warned, moving quickly to check the machine. I can't do this, Amanda said, her breathing becoming rapid and shallow. I can't face Gretchen right now. Not after what I just heard, but the stress, the baby. Linda looked between us, making a quick decision. You need to leave, she told me, not unkindly. For Amanda's sake, and for your grandson. The word hit me like a physical blow. Grandson. My daughter was having a son. It's okay, Mom, Amanda said, struggling to control her breathing. I'll call you, I promise. We have so much to talk about. I nodded reluctantly and allowed Linda to usher me toward the back exit. As I left, I heard Amanda call after me. I love you, Mom. I'm so sorry. I love you too, sweetheart, I called back, my vision blurring with tears. Always have, always will. In the stairwell, I finally let the emotions of the past hour wash over me. Rage at Gretchen's manipulation, heartbreak for the precious time with Amanda I could never get back. Relief that my daughter didn't truly hate me. And underneath it all, fear for Amanda and her baby, my grandson, whose lives hung in a precarious balance. As I reached my car, I realized that the real battle was just beginning. Gretchen wouldn't give up easily, especially now that her deception had been exposed. Somehow, I needed to protect Amanda from further manipulation without adding to her stress. I needed a plan. And for that, I needed an ally who understood exactly what we were dealing with. I needed to talk to Walter again. The next morning, I met Walter at a small coffee shop across town, far from the hospital and any of Gretchen's social circles. He looked even more haggard than he had the previous day, with dark circles under his eyes and a defeated slump to his shoulders. "How is Amanda?" I asked immediately. "Stable," he replied. "The doctors are cautiously optimistic, but she'll need to remain on bed rest for at least another 2 weeks." I nodded, relieved. "And how much trouble are you in for calling me?" Walter's laugh was hollow. "Quite a bit. Gretchen knows we spoke at the hospital. She doesn't know about this meeting, though." I slid my phone across the table. "I recorded something yesterday that you should hear." Walter listened to the conversation between Troy and Gretchen, his expression darkening with each word. When it finished, he pushed the phone back toward me and buried his face in his hands. "I'm sorry, Janie," he said, his voice muffled. "I knew she was difficult, but this is beyond the pale. Did you know she was intercepting my messages and gifts to Amanda?" I asked quietly. He looked up, shaking his head. "No, but I'm not surprised. Gretchen has always been." He searched for the right word, possessive of our sons and their attention. "When Troy got serious with Amanda, I hoped things would be different. Amanda seemed strong-willed enough to establish boundaries." "She was," I agreed, "until Gretchen started systematically undermining her confidence and twisting her memories." Walter nodded wearily. "A familiar pattern. She did the same with my mother and sister. By the time the boys were teenagers, they barely knew my side of the family." "Why have you stayed with her?" I couldn't help asking. His eyes met mine, filled with a mixture of resignation and regret. 42 years of marriage makes it hard to imagine another life, and I kept hoping she would change, that with therapy or time, she would become more secure. He sighed heavily. "But she's only gotten worse, especially since Troy and Scott married and started their own families." "Scott is your other son?" "Yes. He lives in Seattle with his wife and their twin girls. They visit once a year, at Christmas." "That's it." Walter's voice cracked slightly. "Gretchen alienated them too, though not as completely as she has with you. At least Scott's wife comes from a family with money, so Gretchen can't use financial leverage against them." I took a deep breath. "Walter, I need to ask you something directly. Are you willing to help me protect Amanda and my relationship with her and the baby?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes. I've stood by too long, watching Gretchen destroy relationships. I won't let her do this to another family." "Even if it means standing against your wife?" Walter's expression hardened with resolve I hadn't seen in him before, especially if it means that. "In fact, Janie, there's something I should tell you. I've been gathering evidence for a divorce for nearly a year." The revelation stunned me. A divorce? After 42 years? "It's been a long time coming," he admitted. "Gretchen's behavior with Scott's family was the last straw. I started documenting her manipulations, her lies, her financial coercion. I've been working with a lawyer discreetly. The plan was to wait until after the baby was born to file, but after hearing that recording," he shook his head grimly, "this needs to end now, before she does more damage." Relief washed over me. Having Walter as an ally changed everything. "What's our next step?" I asked. "First, I need a copy of that recording," Walter said decisively. "It will be important evidence. Second, we need to speak with Troy, away from Gretchen's influence." "Will he listen?" I worried. "He's been under her control for so long." "Troy has a good heart," Walter insisted. "He loves Amanda deeply. Once he understands the full extent of what his mother has done, I believe he'll do the right thing." I wasn't convinced, but nodded anyway. "And what about Amanda? She's on bed rest, vulnerable, and Gretchen has constant access to her." Walter considered this. "I think our best approach is to focus on Troy first. If we can get him firmly on our side, he can act as a buffer between Gretchen and Amanda. At least until Amanda is stronger and the baby is safer. And if Gretchen realizes what we're doing, she'll escalate," Walter said grimly. "It's her pattern. When threatened, she becomes more controlling, more manipulative. That's why we need to be strategic. One wrong move could put additional stress on Amanda, and that's the last thing any of us wants. I nodded in agreement. So we meet with Troy first. When? Tonight, Walter decided. I'll tell Gretchen I'm taking him to dinner to discuss some investments. We can meet at my office downtown. It's neutral territory. That evening, I arrived at Walter's office building 30 minutes early, my nerves jangling with anticipation and anxiety. This meeting could determine whether I would have a relationship with my daughter and grandson going forward. Walter arrived 10 minutes after me, looking surprisingly calm. Troy's on his way, he said. I told him I wanted to discuss the trust fund we set up for the baby, but that I also had some concerns about his mother I needed to share privately. How did he react? I asked. Confused, mostly. But he agreed to come. Walter hesitated. Janie, you should know something. Troy has always feared his mother's disapproval. It's not a rational fear, more like a deeply ingrained reflex. Even as a successful adult, he still seeks her validation. Breaking that pattern won't be easy for him. I understand, I said, though part of me wanted to shake Troy for allowing Gretchen to come between my daughter and me. I'll try to remember that he's a victim of her manipulation, too. When Troy arrived, his surprise at seeing me was evident. Mrs. Parker? What are you doing here? Please, sit down, son, Walter said gently. We need to talk about your mother. Over the next hour, Walter and I laid out everything, the intercepted gifts and messages, the lies about my parenting, the financial coercion. I played the recording from the hospital, and Troy's face went ashen. I had no idea she was keeping your gifts from Amanda, he said, his voice hollow, or telling Amanda you never responded to our messages. Did you even send me an announcement about the baby? I asked directly. Troy looked away, guilt written across his features. Mom said it would be better to wait, that you might not be supportive. Then she told Amanda that we had sent it and you never responded. I should have verified that myself. I'm so sorry. It's not entirely your fault, I acknowledged. Gretchen has had a lifetime to perfect her tactics. But I let her come between Amanda and you, Troy said, remorse evident in his eyes. I knew how close you two were. I should have questioned things when Amanda became so bitter toward you. It wasn't like her at all. The important thing now, Walter interjected, is how we move forward. Troy, Amanda needs her mother during this difficult pregnancy, and that baby deserves to know his grandmother. Troy nodded firmly. You're right. Absolutely right. He turned to me. Mrs. Parker, Janie, I promise I'll make this right. Starting tonight. Be careful, Walter cautioned. Amanda's health is the priority right now. We need to minimize stress, not create more. I understand, Troy assured us. I won't confront Mom directly yet, but I will make sure she's never alone with Amanda, and I'll start correcting the record gently. Amanda deserves to know the truth. There's something else, Walter said, his expression serious. I've decided to file for divorce from your mother. Troy stared at his father in shock. Divorce? After all these years? It's been a long time coming, son. Your mother's behavior with Amanda and Janie was the final straw, but the pattern goes back decades. I should have taken a stand years ago, when she alienated your brother from my family. Troy sat in stunned silence for several moments. Finally he asked, Does Scott know? Not yet, Walter admitted. I'll call him tomorrow. This affects both of you. How can I help? Troy asked, straightening his shoulders with new resolve. Just focus on Amanda and the baby for now, Walter advised. Let me handle your mother on the legal front. As our meeting concluded, Troy turned to me with sincere regret in his eyes. I truly am sorry for everything that's happened. I promise you'll be part of our lives, and our son's life from now on. I wanted to believe him, but experience had taught me that Gretchen's influence ran deep. Just take care of Amanda, I said. That's all I ask right now. As I drove home that night, I felt cautiously hopeful for the first time in days. With both Walter and Troy as allies, perhaps there was a path forward. But a lifetime of Gretchen's manipulation wouldn't be undone overnight. The real test would come when Amanda was released from the hospital and the difficult process of rebuilding our relationship began. Little did I know that events would accelerate much faster than any of us had anticipated. The next morning, exactly 8 days after Amanda had told me to get out of her life, My phone rang. The number was Amanda's, and my heart leaped into my throat. "Amanda?" I answered anxiously. "Are you all right?" All I heard in response was sobbing. "Amanda, talk to me," I pleaded. "What's happened? Is it the baby?" "Mom," she finally managed between sobs. "I need you. Can you come?" "Of course," I said immediately. "I'm on my way." "Are you at the hospital?" "No," she hiccuped. "They discharged me this morning. I'm home. But Mom," her voice broke again, "I'm so scared. The doctor says if I don't maintain complete bed rest, I could lose the baby. And Gretchen is here, and I can't. I just can't deal with her right now." "I'm coming, sweetheart," I assured her. "Just try to stay calm for the baby. Where's Troy?" "At work," she sniffled. "He had an important meeting he couldn't reschedule. He's coming home at lunch." "Is Walter there?" I asked, hoping for an ally to run interference with Gretchen. "No, just Gretchen. She insisted on staying with me, but Mom," Amanda's voice dropped to a whisper, "after what I heard in that recording, after what Troy told me last night about her intercepting your gifts, I don't trust her anymore. But I'm afraid to confront her. The doctor said any stress could trigger contractions again." "Don't confront her," I advised firmly. "Just focus on staying calm. I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Thank you," Amanda said, her voice small but sincere. "I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything." "We'll talk about that later," I promised. "Right now, let's just focus on you and the baby." During the drive to Amanda's house, I prepared myself for a confrontation with Gretchen. I had no illusions that she would welcome my presence or relinquish her position as Amanda's caretaker easily. But I was done letting her come between my daughter and me. If necessary, I would call Walter or even the police to ensure Amanda's well-being. When I arrived, I was surprised to find the front door slightly ajar. I knocked anyway, calling out, "Amanda? It's Mom." "Come in," Amanda called back, her voice strained. "I'm in the living room." I entered to find my daughter alone, lying on the sofa under a blanket, her face tear-stained and pale. "Where's Gretchen?" I asked, looking around cautiously. "She left," Amanda said, fresh tears spilling. "We had a fight." Well, not really a fight. She was being controlling, telling me what I could eat, who could visit me, how I should be feeling. When I disagreed with her, she got angry, said I was being ungrateful after everything she's done for us. I moved to sit beside her, taking her hand gently. "What happened then?" "I asked her directly if she had been keeping your gifts from me," Amanda admitted. "And if she had been lying about you." She exploded. "Mom," started ranting about how you'd always been jealous of her relationship with me, how you were trying to turn me against her now that I was vulnerable. Amanda's breathing quickened with agitation, and I immediately regretted asking. "Shh," I soothed. "Let's not talk about Gretchen right now. The important thing is keeping you and the baby calm." Amanda nodded, making a visible effort to control her emotions. "She stormed out about 15 minutes ago, said she wouldn't stay where she wasn't appreciated. I called Troy right after, but he didn't answer. Then I called you." "You did the right thing," I assured her. "I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." I helped Amanda get more comfortable, bringing her water and making sure her phone was within reach. As I adjusted her pillows, she suddenly grasped my hand. "Mom, I have to tell you something. Something I haven't even told Troy yet." The serious look in her eyes alarmed me. "What is it, sweetheart?" "The doctors are more worried than they've let on," she admitted, her voice trembling. "The placental abruption. It's worse than they initially thought. There's a real risk I could lose the baby if anything triggers further separation." My breath caught. "Oh, Amanda, I've been so stupid," she whispered fiercely, "wasting precious time believing Gretchen's lies about you. And now I might lose my baby, and you would never have known him, and it would be all my fault." "Stop that right now," I said firmly. "This is not your fault. The only person to blame here is Gretchen, and you are not going to lose this baby. I won't let that happen." "How can you stop it?" Amanda asked, vulnerability clear in her eyes. "By making sure you have the peaceful, stress-free environment you need to carry this pregnancy to term, I promised, starting right now." I got up and began moving methodically through the house, closing curtains to dim the bright sunlight, turning down the volume on Amanda's phone, and collecting everything she might need within arm's reach: water, snacks, books, the TV remote. I found her medications and read the instructions carefully, setting alarms on my phone for each dose. When Troy called 10 minutes later, I answered Amanda's phone and calmly explained the situation. Gretchen left after an argument with Amanda. I'm here now, and Amanda is resting comfortably. But you should come home as soon as you can. I'm already on my way, Troy assured me, his voice tight with worry. Is Amanda okay, the baby? They're stable, I said, keeping my tone measured. But Amanda just told me the doctors are more concerned than they initially let on. We need to make sure she has absolute calm from now on. I'll be there in 15 minutes, Troy promised. And Janie, thank you for being there. While we waited for Troy, Amanda reached for my hand again. Mom, I need to tell you something else. Something I've been keeping secret because I was ashamed. You can tell me anything, I assured her. When Troy and I were looking for a new house, Gretchen offered to help with the down payment, Amanda explained. But there were conditions. She wanted a separate guest suite built for her to stay in whenever she wanted. And she made me promise that you wouldn't be a regular presence in our lives. Oh, Amanda, Isaihed. I didn't want to agree, she insisted, tears flowing again. But Troy was so excited about the house, and I knew we couldn't afford it on our own. And Gretchen kept saying things about you, how you'd been an absent mother, how you'd resent being involved with the baby. She showed me texts you supposedly sent her, saying you weren't interested in being a hands-on grandmother. I never sent any such texts, I said gently. I never even had Gretchen's phone number. I know that now, Amanda acknowledged miserably. Troy told me everything last night, about the intercepted gifts, the lies. He's been talking to Walter, trying to understand how long this manipulation has been happening. I squeezed her hand reassuringly. What matters is that we know the truth now. But I believed her over you, Amanda said, her voice breaking. My own mother. The woman who raised me alone, who gave up everything to make sure I had what I needed. How could I have been so blind? Manipulation is insidious, I explained. Especially when it comes from someone you trust, someone with authority. And Gretchen is very, very good at what she does. I don't want her in my life anymore, Amanda said firmly. Or my baby's life. I can't trust her. Let's not make any permanent decisions right now, I cautioned, though my heart leaped at her words. Your focus needs to be on staying calm and keeping this little one safe. I gently placed my hand on her belly. Amanda covered my hand with hers. I want you here, Mom. Through the rest of the pregnancy, the birth, everything. Will you stay, please? The question I'd been waiting to hear for so long brought tears to my eyes. Of course I will, sweetheart. For as long as you need me. When Troy arrived, breathless and worried, the three of us had a long, honest conversation. Troy apologized again for his role in allowing his mother to come between us. Amanda cried as she admitted how much she had missed me and how confused she had been by Gretchen's stories about my past. I should have trusted my own memories, she said, not let her rewrite my childhood. The important thing, I insisted, is where we go from here. Amanda needs absolute peace for the rest of this pregnancy. That means no more confrontations with Gretchen, no more stress, no more secrets between any of us. Troy nodded firmly. I'll talk to my father about how to handle my mother. Maybe it's best if she stays away entirely until after the baby is born. She won't accept that easily, Amanda warned. You know how she is. Let me and Walter worry about Gretchen, Troy said with new determination. Your only job is to rest and grow our son. That evening, as Amanda napped on the sofa, Troy and I sat at the kitchen table making plans. Walter had already filed the divorce papers, which would be served to Gretchen the following day. Troy had called his brother Scott, who was flying in from Seattle for moral support. Dad says this has been a long time coming, Troy admitted. He's been documenting Mom's behavior for years, the manipulation, the lies, the way she isolated our family from others. Scott and I just didn't see it because it was our normal. It's never too late to break destructive patterns, I told him. The important thing is that you're seeing clearly now. Troy looked at me with sincere gratitude. Thank you for not giving up on us, Janie. Even when Amanda pushed you away, you kept trying to reach her. That's real love. That's being a mother, I said simply. It doesn't end when they turn 18 or get married or even when they tell you to get out of their lives. It's forever. As Troy and I continued talking, I felt my phone buzz with a message. It was from Walter. Papers filed. Gretchen served tomorrow morning. Brace for impact. I showed the message to Troy, who nodded grimly. Tomorrow's going to be rough, he acknowledged, but we'll get through it together. All of us. For the first time in years, I truly believed we would. The next 3 months were a journey of healing, boundaries, and rediscovery. As predicted, Gretchen did not go quietly into the night. The day after she was served divorce papers, she arrived at Amanda and Troy's house in a fury, demanding to see her son. Troy met her outside, firmly refusing to let her in. Amanda is on strict bed rest, he told her. Any stress could endanger the baby. I can't let you upset her. This is that woman's doing, Gretchen had shouted, loud enough that Amanda and I could hear from inside. She's turned all of you against me, after everything I've done for this family. Troy had remained remarkably calm. Mom, you've been lying to us for years. You intercepted Janie's gifts. You told Amanda terrible falsehoods about her childhood. You tried to erase her mother from her life. That wasn't your decision to make. I was protecting you, Gretchen insisted. That woman was never there for Amanda. She doesn't deserve to be in your lives. That's not true, and deep down, you know it, Troy replied steadily. I think you should leave now. We can talk when you're calmer, but not here. Not around Amanda. Gretchen had eventually left, but the incident marked the beginning of a difficult period. She called constantly, sent guilt-inducing texts, and even attempted to rally family friends to her cause. Walter held firm with the divorce proceedings, and Troy maintained the boundaries around Amanda's peace and well-being. I moved into Amanda and Troy's guest room, helping care for Amanda during her bed rest. Those quiet weeks became a precious time of reconnection. Amanda and I talked for hours about her childhood, her marriage, her hopes and fears about motherhood. We cried together over the lost time and healed old wounds that Gretchen had deliberately kept open. I remember when Dad died, Amanda said one afternoon as we looked through old photo albums. You were so strong for me, even though you were breaking inside. You never missed a single one of my events, even when you were working 3 jobs. I wouldn't have had it any other way, I assured her. You were always my priority. I know that now, she said. I don't know how I let Gretchen make me doubt it, even for a moment. As Amanda's pregnancy progressed, her doctor cautiously upgraded her condition from critical to stable. The placental abruption hadn't worsened, and with careful monitoring and complete rest, she was able to carry past the 30-week mark, then the 35-week mark, each milestone a quiet celebration for our reunited family. Troy's brother Scott proved to be an unexpected ally. Having recognized Gretchen's manipulative patterns in his own marriage years earlier, he had established firm boundaries that allowed him to maintain a distant but civil relationship. He coached Troy through the difficult conversations and emotional fallout, providing invaluable support during Walter's divorce proceedings. Walter himself seemed to grow younger as the weeks passed, as if shedding a heavy burden he'd carried for decades. He visited often, getting to know me better, and rebuilding his relationship with Amanda, who had always been fond of her quiet father-in-law, but had never been allowed to get truly close to him under Gretchen's watch. I should have done this years ago, Walter admitted one evening as we sat on the porch while Amanda napped. Maybe I could have spared Troy and Amanda some of this pain. We can't change the past, I told him, but we can make different choices going forward. As Amanda's due date approached, Gretchen made one final attempt to reassert control. She arrived unannounced at the house, clutching a large gift for the baby. I'm still this child's grandmother, she insisted when Troy met her at the door. You can't keep me from my grandson. No one is saying you can never see the baby, Troy replied calmly, but there will be boundaries, strict ones. And the first is that you need to acknowledge the harm you've caused and apologize to Janie and Amanda. Gretchen had scoffed at the suggestion. Apologize? For looking out for my family's best interests? Never. Then I'm afraid you can't come in, Troy said firmly. When you're ready to take responsibility for your actions, we can talk about your role in our child's life. Until then, we need to protect our family's well-being. It was the first time I'd ever seen Troy stand so confidently against his mother's manipulation. In that moment, I knew that whatever happened with Gretchen in the future, Amanda and the baby would be safe from her toxic influence. The big day came 3 weeks before Amanda's official due date. Though earlier than ideal, at 37 weeks, the baby had an excellent prognosis. After months of fear and careful monitoring, Amanda delivered a healthy 7-pound baby boy. When the nurse placed him in Amanda's arms, the room filled with a joy so pure it seemed to wash away all the pain of the previous months. "Mom," Amanda said, tears streaming down her face, "come meet your grandson." As I held that tiny bundle for the first time, feeling his perfect warmth against my chest, I knew with absolute certainty that every struggle had been worth it. I would have fought 10 times harder, endured 100 times more pain, to be present for this moment. "We're naming him Hope," Amanda announced, surprising me. "Hope Walter Parker Reynolds." "Hope?" I repeated, looking down at the distinctly male infant in my arms. "Yes," Troy confirmed. "We know it's traditionally a girl's name, but it means something important to us. When we almost lost him, hope was what kept us going. And when we almost lost our family to lies and manipulation, hope for reconciliation saved us." Walter, standing nearby with tears in his eyes, placed his hand gently on the baby's head. "It's a fine name," he said softly, "a name with meaning." In the weeks that followed, we settled into a new normal. I stayed on at Amanda and Troy's house, helping with night feedings and diaper changes, cooking meals, and supporting Amanda as she recovered from childbirth. Troy took 6 weeks of paternity leave, diving enthusiastically into fatherhood with a tenderness that made my heart swell with approval. Walter's divorce was finalized 2 months after Hope's birth. Gretchen, refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing, moved to Florida to live near her sister. Though she occasionally sent cards and gifts for the baby, she made no further attempts to visit or interfere. Troy maintained minimal contact, sending her photos of Hope monthly, but enforcing strict boundaries around her involvement. 3 months after Hope's birth, Amanda and I sat on the back porch swing, watching the sunset while she nursed the baby. Troy and Walter were inside, preparing dinner together, a new tradition that had evolved during our months together. "Mom," Amanda said softly, "do you remember what you said to me that day on the porch, when I told you to get out?" I nodded, the memory still painful, despite all the healing that had occurred since. "You said I didn't just lose my mother, I erased my future." Amanda looked down at Hope, sleeping peacefully in her arms. "You were right. I almost did. I almost erased all of this. You being here, for Hope's birth, for these early days, you teaching me how to be a mother, all of us being a real family. But you didn't," I reminded her gently. "When it mattered most, you reached out. You let me back in." "I keep thinking about all the mothers and daughters out there who might be going through something similar," Amanda said thoughtfully, "who might be letting someone come between them, poisoning their relationship with lies and manipulation. That's the insidious nature of this kind of emotional abuse," I agreed. "It happens slowly, deliberately, until you can't see the truth anymore." "But there's always a way back, isn't there?" Amanda asked, hope bright in her eyes. "If the love is real." "Always," I assured her. "Love that deep doesn't just disappear. It waits, it endures, it forgives." As if sensing he was the topic of conversation, little Hope stirred and blinked up at us with his solemn newborn gaze. Amanda adjusted him in her arms, and his tiny hand wrapped around my finger with surprising strength. 3 generations, Amanda smiled. The way it should be. Looking at my daughter and grandson, in the golden light of sunset, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. The path to this moment had been painful, filled with heartbreak and betrayal. But it had also revealed the incredible resilience of family bonds, how they can bend under pressure but resist breaking, how they can heal even after the deepest wounds. 8 days after Amanda had told me I wasn't family, she had called me crying, needing her mother. In that moment of vulnerability and truth, we began rebuilding what Gretchen had nearly destroyed. It hadn't been easy or instant, but day by day, conversation by conversation, we had reclaimed our relationship and forged something even stronger than before. As Walter called us in for dinner, Amanda handed Hope to me to carry inside. Cradling his warm weight against my heart, I silently thanked whatever forces of love and courage had helped us find our way back to each other. Some families are broken beyond repair by the kind of manipulation we had endured. But ours had survived, transformed by the fire of our trials into something more precious than before. Have you ever had to stand firm against someone who tried to come between you and a loved one? How did you protect that relationship without adding more conflict? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that true family bonds can survive even the most difficult challenges. Thank you for listening, and may you always find the courage to fight for the relationships that matter most in your life.